So when you are multiplying fractions, the size of your fraction will change, and the size of actually any number will change. For example, if you multiply 1 times 2, 1 times 2 is going to give us 2. 2 is greater than 1. So we multiplied it by a number that was bigger than 1, and we got an answer that is greater than 1. If we took that same number of 1 and times it by 1/2, we're going to end up with an answer that is less than 1. If we times 1 by 1, we're going to end up with 1, an answer that is the same size as 1. So you can change the value of any number, whether it be a whole number, or a fraction, or a decimal, based on what you multiply it by. If you multiply something by a number greater than 1, you're going to get an answer that is bigger. If you multiply a number by something less than 1, you're going to get an answer that is smaller. If you multiply a number by 1 or something equal to 1, your answer is going to be the same. So let's put that into practice. 3 is asking us to fill in the blank with a numerator or denominator to make the number sentence true. So if we just look at 5, 5 is saying 5 times a number is going to be greater than 5. And they want us to plug in what that number should be. Well, if we think back to our example, if I want to change the value of my 5 to be bigger than 5, I need to multiply it by a number bigger than itself, bigger than 1. Because if I multiply it by 1, it's going to stay the same. If I multiply 5 times 1, it will stay as 5. If I multiply it as something less than 1, like 5 times 1/3, it will be smaller than 5. So I need to multiply it by a number that is bigger than 1. They already tell me my denominator is a 3, so I need to go a little above and beyond and think, okay, what can I make my numerator to make my number bigger than 1? You can basically make your numerator anything bigger than 3/3, because 3/3 equals 1. So I can change this to, let's say, be 4/3. 5 times 4/3 will give me an answer that is bigger than 5. 5 times 4 is 20 over 3. It's going to be 6 something. So it's giving me an answer bigger than 5. B, a number times 12 is less than 12. They want me to decrease the value of 12. Well, to decrease the value of 12, I'm going to multiply it by a number that is less than 1. So when I look at my fraction, it's got a 6 as a numerator. 6 would equal 1. And I want to multiply it by something that makes it smaller. So it's going to be less than 1. So my denominator has to be bigger than 6. So something like 6/7. 6/7 times 12 is going to give me an answer that is less than 12, because 6/7 is less than 1. C says 4 times a number is equal to 4. They want me to keep my 4 equaling to each other. Well, I know that 5/5 equals 1, as 5th is my denominator. So to make my number stay the same, 4 times 4, I'm going to multiply it by 1, because I know 4 times 1 is 4. Well, because my denominator is a 5 and 5/5 equals 1, I can put my missing numerator in of 5 to make the value stay the same. So 4 times 5/5 will equal 4. So as a review, when you multiply a number by anything that is less than 1, you're going to have your number get smaller. If you multiply a number that is equal to 1, your number is going to stay the same. And when you multiply a number times something that is more than 1, your number is going to get bigger. So if we look at this row as an example, 2/3 times something is going to be greater than 2/3. Well, I want to make it bigger. So I'm going to go where it says to get bigger. I'm going to multiply my number by something more than 1. So I need to fill in a fraction to put here that's going to be greater than 1. So it can be anything that has a numerator bigger than the denominator. So I'll just go 3/2. It could be 4/3 or 5/4, 5/2. As long as my numerator is bigger than my denominator, this is bigger than 1. So it's going to increase my value. 4 times a number is greater than 4. Well, again, I'm trying to increase the value of my 4, so it needs to be a number greater than 1. So let's do 3 halves again. 5 times a number is going to be greater than 5/3. Again, I'm trying to increase my number because it's greater than. So I can do 3 halves again. For each of these problems, I'm trying to make my original number larger in comparison. So I'm multiplying it by something greater than 1. In row B, they're asking you to do the same numbers, but this time the inequality has changed. So 2/3 times a number is going to be less than 2/3. So to get my answer smaller, it needs to be a fraction less than 1. So I can do 1/3. And that's just any fraction. Any fraction will work there as long as it's less than 1. Because 2/3 times 1/3 is less than 2/3. 4 times a number is less than 4. Again, it's any fraction. 5/3 times a number is going to be less than 5/3. Any fraction will work, because anytime you multiply a whole number or a fraction by another fraction, your answer is going to get smaller. Now you can practice that with decimals as well. Decimals changes a little bit, but not really, because you can follow these exact same rules of less than 1 will make a smaller answer, but remembering that less than 1 in terms of a decimal can be something like 0.5. So 0.5 works as a less than 1 option. 0.7 is less than 1. 0.125 is less than 1. So all of these work as something that will change your value. If you're looking for something that's greater than 1, it can be anything that's bigger than 1. So it can be like 1.2 or 3.4, 5.678. Those are all fractions that are bigger, or decimals that are bigger than 1. So when we're looking at this example, it says sort the following expressions by rewriting them in the table. I have 6 different expressions here, and each one has the first number boxed. And that's important because we're supposed to compare them, where the product is less than the boxed number or the product is greater than the boxed number. So if we look at 12.5 times 1.989, we're going to see if we multiply that together, and we're not actually multiplying it, we're just going to estimate in our heads. 12.5 times 1.989, 1.989 is bigger than 1. Because it is bigger than 1, my 12.5 is going to be bigger than 12.5, because I multiplied it with something that's almost equal to 2. So I'm going to increase. So my product is going to be bigger. So I can write 12.5 times 1.989 is going to be a product that's bigger than 12.5. 0.007 times 1.02. Well, 1.02 is bigger than 1. So it's going to change my 0.007 to be bigger as well. So I'm going to have 0.007 times 1.02. And you're going to test these for all of these problems. 2.16 times 1.11. Well, again, 1.11 is bigger. So my answer is going to be bigger. 828 times 0.921. 0.921 is smaller than 1. So it's going to change my 828 to be smaller than 828. So 828 times 0.921 is going to give you an answer that is smaller than your boxed number. So you're basically just looking at your other number in your equation, your non-boxed number, and you're seeing, is it greater than 1 or less than 1? If it's greater than 1, it's going to go into the product will be bigger. If it is less than 1, it's going to go that the product will be smaller. Because whenever you multiply something by a number less than 1, you're decreasing the value. Even though it's a small decimal, you're still making that small decimal even smaller by multiplying it by 0.1. You can go farther than that too by deciding if you're going to change it by a lot or by a little. And that'll depend on how far it is away from 1. So if it's 0.999, it's very close to 1. So you're only going to change your 14 slightly. So our answer is going to be slightly less than 14. But 2.06 or 1.1 is slightly more than 1. So when I'm comparing my 2.06, my answer is going to be slightly more than. 1,955 times 0.019, and I'm comparing my 1,955. Well, that means my 19 thousandths is a lot less than 1. It's way smaller than 1 compared to my 999 thousandths. So this is going to be a lot less than 1. So you can look at what you're timesing your numbers by and decide if it's going to be close to the original number, as in A, or if it's going to be far from the original number, as in C. And the way you determine that is how far away your factor is that you're multiplying from 1. Because we already decided that when you multiply something that is greater than 1, your answer is going to be bigger. But you can go farther and decide if it's going to be a lot bigger or a little bit bigger. And when you multiply something by a number that is less than 1 in decimals or in fractions, you can always make your answer smaller than the original number. And again, you can go in and see, is it going to be a lot smaller or a little bit smaller?